Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CCS conference call, episode 4 After Dark podcast. I'm back alongside co-host Dronis. It's been a couple of weeks of a hiatus on our show. We are back finally after a couple of no shows. The last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with some stuff IRL. But we're back and ready to go as we get into the last 3 pivotal weeks of the season before we get into the championships later this next month.
I mean, yeah, it has flown by, Nation. I mean, CCS season 5 it's really gone so fast. It's been a lot of fun, but it's been a lot to keep up with, and we're already going into the conference tournaments, which seems insane. We're already so close to the big 64 team bracket coming out, and I couldn't be more thrilled for that.
I'm excited. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch and wait and see what happens alongside these 23 conference tournaments. We're going to go ahead and get to send 23 automatic selections into the CCS championships later in the selection show in 3 weeks from now. So it's going to be, come really fast. I mean, it's going to be the grueling 3-week process for a couple of teams trying to fight their way into the field and try to avoid falling out. So I'm excited to see where things start to fall.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's interesting because obviously you see teams who dominate their conference. You see some close competitions between teams trying to fight for that first place spot, trying to fight for that second place spot. You always see some really solid competition, and this is where it gets going down to it. I mean, sometimes that conference tournament is your last life to try and make it into the national championship bracket. Sometimes you fall down early, you might slip, you might lose your spot. Sometimes you put on a run, you put on a show, and you can make it even further. It's sometimes just the last shot for a lot of these teams.
It really is. So let's go talk week 7, Jonas. A lot of interesting results occurred across week 7. If you missed the broadcast earlier, Northern Arizona swept Idaho State to close out regular season play. A big win there, Jonas. And Nebraska, the story of CCS, misses the Big Ten tournament. As Texas, a Cinderella of last season, also missing the SEC tournament. A couple of really good teams missing out on postseason play this spring.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy to see. I mean, Nebraska being one of those teams, I'm really surprised not seeing. Ohio State, another one of those teams, surprised not seeing. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Miami, they're not making the ACC conference tournament. That was a bit of a shock to me. Texas Tech over in the Big 12, we were expecting them to finish 6-2. They ended up finishing 4-4 and missing that conference tournament. I mean, there's been a lot of great teams who have unfortunately just fallen short.
I mean, looking at the American, Wichita State and Charlotte going the distance, and the Shockers getting the win there in Game 5 the other night on Sombra Stream. And in the Big 12, Arizona defeating Arizona State earlier on back on Sunday of last week, and then last night were defeated in 4, their first loss of the year since conference play begun. They fell in 4 to Iowa State, and then after that, all Texas Tech had to do to qualify for the Big 12 tournament was sweep Baylor. And Baylor was able to win Game 2, sending the Red Raiders home packing and out of the Big 12 tournament this spring in CCS Season 5. And we talked all the way back before the season started, we realized how easy the schedule Texas Tech got to play this spring. Anything south of a 6-2 finish was an absolute tragedy in our minds, and they finished 4-4 with some absolutely unbelievable losses along the way.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that was really shocking to us. And I mean, seeing West Virginia just sneak in, it's one of those cases where you kind of got to throw your hands up and say that's just what happens sometimes. And it is, we thought Texas Tech, we thought they were going to be in, but we thought it was a surefire looking at their schedule. They fell short. Sometimes it just happens. I mean, there's a lot of great teams who missed out on their conference tournaments by just that one individual game. You'd be surprised. It happens more than you think.
It really does. I mean, it comes down to your last regular season finale, trying to make up for that difference in the game differential and find a way to win against the spread when it matters. And unfortunately, some teams couldn't get the job done when it mattered most, Jonas, and it's going to show in postseason play. The Red Raiders will miss it again for a 3rd straight season. Their only postseason in CCS was that Season 2 Big 12 title game appearance we saw.
Yeah, I mean, I know I already mentioned it, but Miami is again in the ACC. They missed out on their conference tournament by 1 game. Syracuse was the one that snuck them in, and it's because Miami just tonight got swept by Florida State. If they got 1 game, I believe they would have made it. It would have tied the game differential with Syracuse. They had the regular season win over Syracuse. They just needed 1 game. They just needed to not get swept. the Seminoles put them down quickly, and Miami missed the ACC conference tournament.
I believe they needed 2 games. I believe
Oh,
Syracuse had more games won than Miami, so
okay,
it would have gone that way instead.
okay.
But anywho, nonetheless, Miami ACC tournament finalists last season made the tournament completely out of postseason play this spring.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see. It really is.
I mean, it's sad. You see good teams come and go and make some runs, and the next season they just couldn't get it done. And again, me and you, we talk a lot about Nebraska, how much we love watching them play. It's a sad story from what they've had in the past to now. We're hoping that for summer they are back with a vengeance and they're back in postseason play. We'd love to see Nebraska continue on, but unfortunately, their season is over.
Yeah, I mean they definitely had the opportunity. They were one of those other teams that they were just one series away from making it in the big series that stands out on their schedule. Lost in Game 5 to the Oregon Ducks, and that one probably their toughest loss of the season, and that's what put them down to that 4-4 record and allowed them to just miss the Big Ten Conference tournament. They won that one. They would have made it. It was just that one game that they could have won in that series could be a completely different story for them.
I think if you look at Nebraska's schedule, I don't even think you mentioned the Oregon game. I think you have to look at the Northwestern Game 5. If they just
Yeah.
win that game against the spread, whether it was in 3 or in 4, Nebraska's in. No matter
Yeah.
how that Penn State Wisconsin game went, Nebraska just played teams they really should have been dominating a little bit too close at the course of the year, and it came back to bite them.
Yeah, it's tough. We're sad we're not going to be seeing those guys, but it's just how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes that's just how it happens. You need to get it done. We always emphasize, every single game matters. Every single match, from non-con to every conference play game you play, every single matchup matters, and we've seen it be proved this season quite a bit.
Absolutely, we have. And what a story for Virginia Tech. They didn't play last season, but the season before that, back in the summer, the Hokies went, I believe, 4-4, were the 6th seed in the ACC tournament. Got to the semifinal, lost to Syracuse in Game 7, where Syracuse later went on to make the Elite Eight and stun San Diego State, the 1 seed there. Now are back and perfectly undefeated, 12-0 in CCS Season 5.
Yeah, I mean they have responded really well, to say the least. They've been able to work their way back really well. It's nice to see that comeback happen.
We got a ball nowhere in chat. Arl Blast says cookies are good, especially cookie cake. Bro knows ball. Cookie cake is great.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that, man. Good stuff out of you, Blast. But, I mean, anyway, another story of the season. How about the Wolverines of Utah Valley?
I mean, that's been they shocked everyone. Ultimately, I mean, taking down Grand Canyon and UTA, the two juggernauts over there, over in that conference, and somehow they took down both of them. Their one loss in conference play was to California Baptist, and I'm gonna be real. I don't know how they beat Grand Canyon, beat the Mavericks, but lost to the Lancers over at California Baptist. It just, the math doesn't work there. But regardless, that's how it happened. But I mean, they're showing that they can compete with some of the best teams in CCS. UTA and GCU are both top 20 in the last power rankings, and Utah Valley were able to sneak into that top 25 because of those wins. We'll see what they're able to do in the conference tournament, if they'll be able to stay consistently be able to get those wins versus those two top teams. And, if they're able to make the tournament, we'll see what they can do against a larger scale of opponents.
Washington State. How about the Cougars? They're on their way back to the tournament for a second straight season after last season's first round loss to, I believe, Idaho State would knock them out in the first round. Before Idaho State was handed, they lost by Colorado in round 2. I believe the Cougars did fall in round 1, though. But how about the Cougars this season? Big turnaround. 6-2 in the Mountain West play, losing to San Diego State and Air Force. Well, what a season so far to the Cougars.
Yeah, it's been a nicer look out of them. I mean, I was a little bit surprised after last season, was a little bit worried about them, but they responded well. I mean, yeah, they're only 2 losses in conference play. They did beat Air Force. Their 2 losses are SDSU and Colorado State. which that was a little bit more shocking. But the Rams sitting at that 4th seed in the West, not too crazy. But Washington State, I mean, they've had themselves a good season. Again, we'll see if they can stay consistent in the conference tournament. If they make the national championship bracket, we'll see how everything falls.
That we will, and we'll get into those brackets here in a minute. But another story to kind of, I guess, follow from the past: Tennessee, a team that Jonas and I currently have projected outside of the field, and they have been dominant in CCS. 1 seeds in both seasons. They were here. The current roster we have projected out of the field, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, ultimately, it's just been a tough season for Tennessee. I mean, coming in as the final seed, making it into the SEC conference tournament, they're sitting at the 8th seed, went 4-4 in SEC conference play, and ultimately it was just a bit underwhelming from the Volunteers. They just didn't have as many wins as we thought. They faced some tough opponents, but ultimately they didn't get the job done like they needed to. They got some good wins, but they had some tough losses.
That they did. Another story to mention, I think, for me, Middle Tennessee State. How about the Blue Raiders? 1-7 in season 3. Didn't play last season. Now 6-2 here in season 5. There have been. Are the Blue Raiders back to what we think they can be this season after having a not so great roster 2 seasons ago to having triple SSLs here this spring? I mean, they're dominating Conference USA.
I mean, it's looking like it. Obviously, you got FIU kind of run things around there, and Louisiana Tech, the Bulldogs. We expected them at number 2, but Middle Tennessee State, they took it amongst themselves, finished 6-2. They got that number 2 seed in CUSA, and they've looked really, really good. Have only struggled for a couple moments, only obviously dropping 2 series, one to FIU, and I believe. Who's the other one? Nation, help me out here. I'm blanking. Who's their one other
I think
loss?
it was a forfeit. I think it was just Jack State.
Oh,
I don't know. Let me look. Hold on. I'll find it.
that would make sense. But yeah, I mean, they've been a lot of fun to watch. They kind of came out of nowhere and have been
Oh,
able to
it was
perform
LA
really, really
Tech
well. Oh, it was LA Tech.
in
Okay,
4.
so they did drop to the Bulldogs, but still able to secure a 6-2 record. Stay just a little bit more consistent than LA Tech overall. They're fun to watch.
That there, Jonas. Let's get into postseason play. Let's take a look at the conference tournament brackets for season 5, when all 185 teams' roads to the CCS championships will begin. Starting off
Absolutely.
with the American, Wichita State stealing the 1 seed from Charlotte last week.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Wichita State they've just been looking good. There's not much else to say. A perfect 8-0 through conference play, the Game 5 win over Charlotte to secure that number 1 seed. They're well deserving of it, and they really could just run the floor.
I mean, you currently have 3 projected bids out of the American, with a potential 4th on the bubble cut line, which we will get into later tonight in the show. On the Birth Watch graphic, we will kind of more further discuss the American, but we do have 3 teams in the field at the moment, Jonas, being Wichita State, Charlotte, and North Texas. But how do you feel about the road for East Carolina UTSA going into Wichita State next week with the winner?
I don't think they have much of a chance, to be fair. I mean, East Carolina, they're a team that they've been interesting to watch. They've had their ups and downs. They've been able to stay pretty solid, but I mean, going toe to toe with a team like Wichita State, it's not going to be easy for the Pirates. It's really not. Whoever's able to come out of that matchup having to go immediately, most likely into Wichita State, barring some incredible upset from Temple. It's not going to be easy. I would expect WSU to make it very cleanly into the American Grand Finals of this conference tournament. I don't really see any of those other 3 teams slowing them down on the upper side of the bracket.
I would agree. I mean, already we saw Charlotte earlier tonight take down Florida Atlantic in round 1, 3-0 was the final there. They'll get the winner of North Texas, Wichita State Black. So again, the Charlotte 49ers awaiting the winner of North Texas, the Mean Green. Can they go further than last season's blunder in round 1?
I mean, I think so, but you never know. Wichita State Black might be a little bit sneaky. I would expect the boys at UNT to still get the win and then try and go toe to toe with Charlotte, who they didn't face in the regular season. That'll be a fun match to watch if it happens. But you got to take it one step at a time. You got to take down Wichita State Black. You got to move from there.
That you do. I mean, again, looking at this bracket alone, it's top heavy. And last season North Texas, we obviously did lose in the first round to UTSA, and after or East Carolina beat them actually, and then that's how it kind of led to that East Carolina tournament bid last season was defeating North Texas.
Yeah, it did. It gave them a nice last minute surge, and East Carolina, they could do it again. If they're able to take down UTSA with ease, and maybe we see another big upset versus Wichita State. Just got to throw it out there. It's always a possibility. But even so, I at least want them to compete. I think that'll be a good look. We'll see how far they can make it if they're able to secure a bid into the CCS, national championship bracket. They gotta show us. They gotta show us that they have it in them.
That they do, and I mean, again, the expected final, Wichita State and Charlotte. I think there's no.
Yeah.
North Texas could get there, but it's beating Charlotte's hard. We've seen that time and time again be the case throughout American play for teams like Wichita State and North Texas trying to contend for a title in the regular season. But Wichita State finally do get the better of them though, for the first time in a while this season.
Yeah, and I mean it's well deserved. Going a perfect 8-0 through the American, it's not easy. I mean, you have a lot of strong teams. Even those kind of middle of the pack teams are still can be threatening. We've seen in the past, we've seen those upsets happen, and obviously, those top three: Wichita State, Charlotte, North Texas, all are very, very solid threats. And they've only lost to each other. Charlotte losing to Wichita State, North Texas losing to Wichita State as well. I mean, the Shockers deserve to be that one seed.
Absolutely, they do. I think the metrics will favor the Shockers come selection weekend as well when it comes to deciding how high of a seed they'll receive. But moving along to the Big 12 after last night's crazy slate of matches, Arizona falling all the way down to a 3 seed. Central Florida, a 1 seed, will take on West Virginia. One of those two teams will be top 4. Let that one sink in.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's pretty insane to see how this this conference tournament stacked up in terms of seeding. It's really, really wild. I mean, obviously we've talked about how solid the Big 12 is all around. Seeing Arizona State round 1, the Battle of the Desert, that'll be fun to see. Heavily favoring the Wildcats, but still Arizona State, they've been known to be that dark horse at times. Iowa State, they got a big win over Arizona. They're looking comfortable at that 2 seed. Utah, they've also been a team who's known for putting up a fight against some of the best. They're going to have their work cut out for them. Cincy versus Houston should be a fun one to watch. The Bearcats still the favorites in that 4-5 seed matchup. And yeah, Central Florida, I mean, they had one of the easier schedules in the Big 12, but you got to give them credit for getting the job done and going 8-0. It's not their fault that they had a bit of an easier bracket and they were able to take advantage.
Yeah, the hardest opponent they played is Houston.
Yeah.
And they did claim victory over the Cougars, and Game 5 was able to get the winner for the Knights of Central Florida. But I think when you look at the Big 12, it's going to be Cincinnati against the winner of Iowa State, Arizona.
I would 100% agree. I mean, looking at this one, I think, we both predicted Arizona making it, but after this past week's matchup between Iowa State and Arizona, my confidence in the Wildcats is a little bit shaken. I can't lie. Iowa State looked really, really good. Arizona, they struggled a little bit, and I would expect to see that rematch in the conference semifinals. And I don't know which way it could go. I know Arizona, they want to get their get back, but Iowa State have proved that you can't just shrug them off.
Yeah, I think if I was talking to Spade, he's on the committee as well, and we were talking the other night. I think we've kind of decided, well, if Iowa State do fall to Arizona in the tournament, Arizona get revenge and win the Big 12 tournament, they could be as high as a 2 seed come selection weekend.
I mean, that absolutely could happen. I mean, again, I think it's the winner of this conference tournament. It's Iowa State or Arizona, no doubt. I mean, I believe, Cincinnati, Houston, they're great teams. I mean, honestly, all 8 of these teams are really, really solid. There's going to be a lot of contenders. A lot of these teams are most likely going to make it into the big bracket as well. They're going to dance. But in terms of who's going to win out, it's going to be the winner of Iowa State, Arizona. That's my pick easily.
Yeah, Cincinnati they were able to beat Iowa State, but then they did lose to Arizona and Arizona State. So I think it is one of the tougher tournaments to predict. I mean, we know on any given night in the Big 12 anything can happen. So I'm excited to see how this one progresses.
Yeah, I am too. It's going to be a fun one to keep an eye on. There's always that round one upset, but the semifinals, it's going to be really fun to watch.
That it is. One of the ACC, Virginia Tech takes on Syracuse, the one seed, the Hokies, trying to go dancing for the first time.
I mean, they've looked incredible. You got to give them props. They're 8-0 through conference play. They have looked incredibly good. Syracuse just sneaking in over Miami, and they immediately run into the Hokies. It's not a nice draw for Syracuse, but we'll see what they're able to do. And I mean, there are some upset potential here. Obviously, California Louisville might get interesting at that 4-5 matchup. Pitt, they've had, they've dropped a series here and there. North Carolina being seated at number 3, that's a big surprise. They've been looking really good in the ACC this season, finishing 6-2, going head to head with Clemson. We could see them finishing top 4.
And Clemson made the ACC tournament final game last season as well against Miami, who was left out of the
Yep.
ACC tournament field this spring. Pitt, I still feel like is the favorite to win this tournament.
I would have to go with VTech. I mean, I just haven't seen anyone been able to slow them down so far. Pitt still look good. They lost in the first week of conference play to North Carolina, and they immediately went 7-0 after that. They're definitely going to be a very, very strong matchup to win. Honestly, I just want to see Pitt take down FSU. I want to see North Carolina take down Clemson. I want to see that rematch between both those two teams. I know Pitt's hungry for it.
Yeah, and Pitt's probably expecting Clemson in round 2 on paper, but North Carolina got the better of them, and we'll see what happens in that semifinal clash. But again, Pitt and Virginia Tech did not play this season, so it would be the first meeting between those two programs in the tournament final game.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, honestly, it could go either way. That's the biggest thing here. I mean, Virginia Tech did take down Clemson. They have been able to take down Cal. It was a game 5. It was close there. I mean, they've been able to do work. They swept North Carolina as well. I mean, they've done everything they've needed to do. They didn't face off against Pitt. If that is the conference tournament grand final, I would be happy as could be with that.
I would be too. I'm excited. I think once we kind of get past this first round, these games are going to get really, really good. And I'm excited to see how this one progresses as well throughout the course of the next 3 weeks. Moving along to Mountain West, San Diego State's been dominant throughout the course of league play. Air Force Washington State, as we know, is always a great clash if those two teams meet in that bottom semifinal. Colorado State, San Jose State also should be a great round 1 game.
Yeah, I would expect CSU and San Jose State. I would expect that one to be close, and obviously on paper as the 4-5 seeds, both finishing 4-4, it should be. I would expect it to stay the case. However, don't know which way that would go. Could see that rematch versus Air Force versus Washington State again. Washington State, they won it in week 1 of conference play. We'll see if the Falcons are able to get that get back, but ultimately it's San Diego State's tournament to lose.
I 100% agree. I was talking about Kenya last night as well. And I told him, like, right now we have you guys at the lock. Like, don't take that into consideration. Like, oh, so we can throw. I'm like, no, don't throw. Your tournament seeding still is on the line, very much so. So do not throw whatever you do. But again, they've never lost this tournament. So I feel like odds have to be still continuing to be in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even if SDSU weren't perfect, even if they weren't 8-0 at this point, even if they were 6-2, they would still be my favorites for the tournament just because of what history has provided, because of how dominant they have been in the past, because they've still been able to beat those top teams. They would still be my favorite to win the whole thing.
Well, keep in mind, they've won this tournament as a 5 seed and a 1 seed twice. So they've been all over the course of this top side of the bracket, and they've won for multiple different spots in the bracket. So I don't think you take that into consideration here when looking at the Mountain West, knowing San Diego State can win it any given night. And they had a rocky start. They had a couple of really bad losses in non-conference, had a difficult schedule though, playing UConn and losing to them. They lost to Missouri as well in a close set. So they played some good teams early, got some good experience, and maybe taken to the championships.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what they're able to do. Yeah, as you mentioned, they did have tough non. I mean, being in that Sideline Sports Invitational, there's a lot of great teams. They got swept by Arizona State, swept by UConn. It looked like San Diego State might just have another tough season, but once they got into conference play, they kicked things into gear and they got it done.
That they did. Well, on into the SEC, Jonas. Missouri joins the league this spring immediately atop the SEC.
I mean, you don't need to say much more. I mean, Florida, they've been kind of in the shadow for
Oh, this
Tennessee.
bracket is
Of
wrong. The graphic is wrong.
oh, oh,
the match,
oh, yeah,
the
we have Tennessee with the Longhorns.
the matches are correct. Don't worry about the Longhorn logo. The matches are actually correct, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, that looks great. Yeah, the Tennessee Longhorns. That would make a lot of SEC fans not very happy.
It really would. They're both UT as well. So, but again, we apologize for that mistake. Tennessee is that 8 seed up top with
Yeah,
Missouri.
yeah, but I mean, again, it's tough for Florida. As I was saying, they've been in the shadow for Tennessee for what feels like forever. They've always kind of been that number 2 team in the SEC, have been able to climb the hill that is Tennessee. And as soon as we see that powerhouse roster from Tennessee leave, Mizzou steps in place, and now Florida are still sitting at number 2. I mean, I would expect them to see them both run it back in the conference grand final here in the SEC, but I mean, I can't see anyone beating the Tigers. I can't.
It was an incredible game too, by the way. And I know you weren't there for it, but it was an incredible game. The defenses were tested the entire night. I believe it went to Game 5 too. I believe Florida,
It
Missouri.
did.
It's going to be an exciting title game if it is what we see later on in 3 weeks. But Texas A&M can make some noise. South Carolina potentially as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to watch. It really will be. I mean, Texas A&M they've been doing well. Getting that 3 seed, standing at 6-2. I think they're going to get through Auburn just fine, and then they're probably going to run into the juggernaut that is Florida, and we're going to see them kind of get shut down there. Similar to South Carolina, I think they should be able to deal with the Razorbacks, and then they're going to run right into Mizzou. And yeah, it's just hard to see anyone else being in that SEC conference title match.
Yeah, I think Missouri Florida is your 99%
Yeah.
chance, barring a magical upset by A&M or South Carolina. But along to the conference USA, Florida International #1 in the CUSA tournament 3 consecutive seasons.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're just what we've talked about it. We've talked about it. There are some of those conferences that are just run by one team, Florida International and CUSA, one of those teams, one of those conferences. They always sit perfectly atop CUSA, 8-0. Middle Tennessee State, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, they have been a bright light shining in CUSA, getting that 2 seed over LA Tech, who are sitting at number 3.
Number
But it's
4.
been Oh, they're 4. Excuse me. Yeah, they are number 4. Yeah, and I mean, LA Tech, they have their work cut out for them. Kennesaw State could see a potential upset there from the Owls. I would expect LA Tech to get the job done, but then going straight into Florida International, it's just one of those conferences. It's hard to see anyone other than the Panthers, coming away with another title.
Yeah, and LA Tech pulling the 4 seed. They are sitting third on the standings, but they did have a straight tie with Western Kentucky, and Western Kentucky beat LA Tech. So that gave WKU the 3 seed, LA Tech the 4 seed. So we could have our CUSA tournament grand final, the last 3 seasons we've seen, go head to head in the semifinal.
Yeah, we very well could. I mean, looking at this one, I think the match to watch is that semifinal, most likely semifinal match between Middle Tennessee State and Western Kentucky. That'll be a fun one to watch. I mean, again, we'll see if anyone can try and take down FIU. Louisiana Tech will have their shot most likely in the semifinals. Then in grands, we'll see who from the lower side can try and topple them. But FIU, they're in a solid spot as always. I would expect them to get that AQ without too much trouble.
Let's take a look at one of the hardest tournaments to win in CCS, the Big Ten tournament bracket. Purdue #1, Michigan State second, Illinois third. A top-heavy bracket again, like the Big 12. But Purdue #1, they could go back to the tournament title game for the first time.
Yeah, they definitely could. I mean, we already mentioned that
Second time.
This conference tournament. I mean, it's incredibly hard, and we've seen some great teams left out of it. The top 2 being Nebraska and Ohio State. Neither of those being able to sneak in. They just fell short. And you see at that 8 seed Penn State, Rutgers at the 7. I mean, it'll be It'll be interesting to see what these teams can do. I think there's still going to be a lot of competition. I think if you're going to see an upset in any conference tournament just based off strict seeding, this would probably be the one.
I would agree. I think earlier too in the season, Rutgers did defeat Michigan State. So you can't.
Yep.
I feel like you can't. Count them out. I think that game is also tomorrow at 9 Eastern. We'll have to wait and see on confirmation on that. That's a big game going on tomorrow. It looks like Illinois, Michigan State could be an interesting semifinal alongside Maryland, UCLA versus Purdue or Penn State, barring an upset.
Yeah, I mean, there's still lots of things that can happen. You could see Nitrous and the Nittany Lions really kind of find that spark once again, maybe get that early upset versus the Boilermakers. You never know. UCLA, Maryland, that's one where it could be going either way. I mean, Maryland, they've kind of fallen from kind of their top stature in the Big Ten, sitting at the 5 seed. Could see them try and make a run. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Michigan State on the bottom side of the bracket, you kind of got to give leeway to the Spartans. But as you mentioned, they got beaten early in conference play by Rutgers. Could happen again. Could see someone like Illinois take them down too.
That'd be good. We'll have to wait and see how the bracket progresses. And there has been talk of the Big Ten tournament going to 10 teams. And unfortunately, it didn't happen this spring. Maybe in the summer it'll expand to 10 teams for postseason play. And that would then put Nebraska in the field. So we'll kind of wait and see how we decide to change things up come for the Big Ten tournament. Moving along to the Big East. UConn and Villanova, your buys. DePaul takes on St. John. Xavier plays the Blue Demons at DePaul, their JV team.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's UConn. It's got to be UConn. We've seen them, struggle in the past. Villanova obviously was able to take it last season, but you would expect it to be similar. Xavier might be able to go nuclear. You never know, but I would expect it just to be the Connecticut Huskies all the way.
I would agree. I think UConn is your clear favorite team here to watch and see if they can get it done. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think UConn, potentially Xavier even in the Big East final.
No, yeah, I mean, again, I could 100% see on that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on that lower side of the bracket. I would expect Xavier to get through DePaul JV quite easily. And then going toe to toe with Villanova, that one could get a little bit crazy. You never really know. I believe Villanova won 3-1 over the Musketeers in the regular season, but could see that switched around. Might see Xavier being able to get through them and take on UConn. And don't think it went well the last time they faced UConn, but again, you never know.
You have to skip the Sun Belt. We don't have a graphic for it, unfortunately, so we can't show you guys the bracket tonight. But James Madison is the 1 seed, received by Louisiana at second, Old Dominion third. Will play 6 seed App State, while the Texas State Bobcats, a 4 seed, play their academy team, the 5th seed in round 1 of the Sun Belt tournament. We don't have a graphic, unfortunately. We apologize about the inconvenience. But moving along to the Big Sky, NAU takes number 1 after tonight's victory.
Yeah, and the Lumberjacks, they look dangerous. I mean, we always know that it's Northern Arizona, Idaho State atop this conference. It used to be Sacramento State as well, kind of a battle between those 3 teams. We lost the Hornets coming into this season, but ultimately these 2 teams have battled, and Northern Arizona, they looked really strong tonight. Idaho State, they just made quite a few mistakes, and the Lumberjacks were there to cut them down on all those opportunities. And now, I mean, I would expect the rematch. I really would. Idaho State, last season, they got beat in the regular season in the conference tournament. They met NAU in the conference tournament grand final, and they swept them. It's still up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, again, the team that won the regular season match lost the postseason tournament game. So, now maybe the curse is favoring Idaho State this time around.
I mean, it's definitely it's potential for that. It's up in the air. There's nothing that's really set in stone. We'll just kind of have to wait and see.
That we will. Moving along though to the WAC to stay on track with time. Grand Canyon number 1, no surprise. Utah Valley though 2nd seed ahead of UT Arlington, which they did defeat UTA and Grand Canyon. One of the only WAC teams now in CCS history to defeat both teams.
Yeah, I mean it's just gonna be seeing if Utah Valley are legit. That's one of the biggest stories I'm following for this conference. Grand Canyon, I think they're still the favorites at the 1 seed. They've been able to take care of business all throughout. They did drop that series to the Wolverines at Utah Valley, but they're still expected to win. I think they're going to have an easy time through the top half of that bracket. They're going to make it to the conference grand finals pretty quickly, barring a major upset from the Seattle Redhawks. I mean, we know they can be a threat sometimes. But yeah, I would expect Grand Canyon to work their way quickly. UT Arlington versus Utah Valley, most likely in the bottom half semifinal. That could be a solid match, and I would expect the winner of that one to give Grand Canyon a run for their money.
I would too. I think again we're looking at the UTA Grand Canyon tournament finale, but I could see Utah Valley kind of sinking in there again. But you've gotten to watch a lot of WAC games this season on your broadcast, and you've gotten to see a couple of these teams play multiple times, like Seattle and Cal Baptist in Southern Utah. I believe also you watched play. Utah Tech, I believe, played on your team as well at some point in time with Seattle and one other opponent. So you've gotten to watch a good bit of WAC play, and I think looking at this conference for me, it is a top heavy GCU UTA with an occasional Utah Valley that we saw pick off UTA last season. So Utah Valley in league play is 2-0 against UT Arlington.
Which does seem crazy. I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense, but you know what? Got to give credit where credit's due. The Wolverines, they've been able
Or 2-0 against
to
Grand
fight.
Canyon. 2-0 against Grand Canyon, they've picked off twice.
I mean, regardless, I feel like that's even more impressive.
Right? It honestly is. But I mean, again, they've been consistent at hanging with top teams. It's something good to take into the tournament, though.
Yeah, they have indeed. Honestly, I just want to see them battle strong in this conference tournament. If they can take down UTA, that would be huge. If they go toe to toe with Grand Canyon again, that could be huge. We could see them win out in this conference tournament, potentially bump that seeding up even higher in the CCS national tournament. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot that can happen in Utah Valley. I think they have to be the team to watch in this conference tournament.
100% agree. Moving along, go to the MAC. Bowling Green, a 3 seed. They dropped a spot from last season being second. Ball State Black enter CCS Season 5 alongside newcomer Miami, Ohio, who's a 7 seed. And their first tournament appearance will play Ball State in round 1. Akron Gold, defending national champions, unbeaten since week 3, are number 1 again in the MAC.
I mean, it's one of those conferences again. You have some strong teams. You have Bowling Green. You have UMass who've been looking good. Northern Illinois, one of those teams have been able to compete. Central Michigan, I know that they were on the bubble last season. I mean, there's some great teams in this one, but Akron Gold, Ball State Black, they're on another level. Akron seem to be even higher, and it'd be incredibly shocking to see anyone but the Zips winning out in this conference tournament.
Yeah, I'm expecting Akron and Ball State to play again in the MAC tournament title game. But again, UMass and Bowling Green are teams to watch in MAC tournament play.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's going to be a solid fight. I want to see the rematch, but I'm expecting Akron to stay dominant as they have been.
Well, moving along to the big A10 bracket, George Mason and Dayton. The buys we could now finally have GMU versus a different school in the A10 tournament final. They played their academy team last season in that championship match. It could be George Mason and Dayton this time.
I mean, Dayton, yeah, they were able to get the win over GMU Academy in conference play. It was a Game 5 victory, but the Flyers were able to come out on top. And I mean, the Flyers also did go to Game 5 with their B team in conference play. So I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know if that was scripted. I don't know if their JV team actually gave them much trouble. Who could say? But we could see. I would obviously George Mason. They're going to be up there in the conference grand finals. GMU Academy, I think they should be able to take care of VCUB, no problem. But them versus Dayton, that could be the one questionable matchup.
VCU also went to Game 5 with their B team. So George Mason got a forfeit win over their B team. So it's kind of funny to see kind of what happens. The A10 bracket should be George Mason and honestly probably their academy again. But for our purposes, I'm hoping for Dayton.
Just to make it a little more interesting.
On to the Big West. Cal Poly last night grabbed number one after a win in over Fullerton in Game 5. That was a crazy five-game set last night, defending Big West tournament title champions Long Beach State sit as a four seed up top, taking on CSU Northridge with the winner going into Cal Poly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Cal Poly, they're the favorites going into this one. I would expect the Mustangs and the Titans to rematch in the conference grand finals. But I don't know if we'd see a repeat result. I mean, again, it went to Game 5. It was a close series. Both you and I said during that series, I believe it was in either Game 3 or Game 4, we thought Fullerton were going to win it. They looked to be the more solid team. Cal Poly, they just had some more peak moments. They seem to have that higher potential, higher chance of getting those highlight reel plays, but were less consistent. We thought the Titans were going to win out. Cal Poly were able to take it in Game 5, getting them that one seed. If they rematch, it might not happen again.
And Callian came alive for Cal Poly last night. And Trey's played
Absolutely.
very well for Fullerton as well. I hope we get to see those two teams go head to head one last time this season, and may the winner get in the tournament, may the loser best of luck getting in that large.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest case as of right now.
Well, on to the CAA Drexel North. Oh, that's the wrong bracket. On to the Horizon. On to the Horizon League. While I fix this, Robert Morris said Milwaukee. You're 1 and 2 seed in the Horizon League.
I mean, Robert Morris perfectly undefeated, only dropped one game during conference play. A very confident 6-0. Would expect them to be able to take care of business all throughout. I mean, yeah, there's not much else to say there. The one game Robert Morris did drop was to Green Bay, who are at that 3 seed. I think they should be able to take down Purdue Fort Wayne. No problem. Going toe to toe with Milwaukee. Gonna be a little bit tougher for the Phoenix. I think Milwaukee were able to take them down in the regular season. I think Milwaukee will most likely have their number again. But Green Bay, they're a fiery team. They're going to want to get revenge, and they're going to want to try and take down and upset Robert Morris in that conference grand final.
I'm just gonna say this right now because I just remembered it, and we talked about this before, Jonas. But the captain of Green Bay has some very interesting thoughts in his mind about how he expects his team to play in CCS. They were
Okay.
fully expecting to get an at-large and be in the contention for a title. They are a 3 seed in the
Oh,
Horizon League tournament. They finished third behind losses to Robert Morris and Milwaukee. We'll have to wait and see how the Phoenix contend and finish their season.
so wait, I don't want to make you say it again, but I do want to the Akron Gold are the reigning champs. You got teams like Drexel. You got, I mean,
I'm talking
you
about
got teams like
I'm
Illinois.
talking about Horizon League tournament champions.
Okay. I thought you meant overall, and I was going to say,
No,
wow.
no.
Okay, I understand. I mean, that's more valid. And they are in the top 3, and they've been fighting strong. They went toe to toe with Milwaukee in Game 5. I could see them being able to pick up that title. They're gonna have to get through Milwaukee and RMU to do it. But I would say it's possible.
Thing is, Robert Morris has the highest win rate in the country at 97%. So it's kind of hard to top a team like that that's been playing at a very high level all season long. And NKU's an interesting round one game could go in Robert Morris. Don't really expect a chance of an upset unless NKU pop off. But I still don't really see that happening. Robert Morris looking to go back to the tournament for a second straight season.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be the case. We'll see if whoever comes in second, if it's not Robert Morris, if they're able to, if Robert Morris went out, who's in second, who's going to be able to try and secure a bid in, but it'll be tough regardless.
Got it. Well, back to the CA. Got it fixed. Drexel Northeastern, your 1 and 2 seed. They went to Game 5. Drexel swapped to Operation Scarab after a 2-0 advantage over Northeastern, and they were sent to Game 5, where they finally got the job done.
Yeah, I know Prost just absolutely loved that. But
And
Northeastern,
Jabro had a grand time.
me, Nation. I'm a Huskies fan. I like the Northeastern guys a lot. I think they have a lot of potential. They went toe to toe with Drexel, the reigning runner ups. I I would expect them to try and get it back. Drexel are obviously still the favorites. It's hard to knock the Dragons in any way, shape, or form. But Northeastern, they're hungry for it again. They're going to be wanting to get them back into the conference tournament grand final. but it's still a tall order.
We'll get to this in the next segment of this podcast, but beating Drexel metrically isn't even a quadrant 1 win, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Wow. That is pretty crazy.
Drexel tournament metrics fall under quadrant 2 right now. So it's kind of crazy to think that beating Drexel, the number 1 team in the nation, is not a quad 1 win.
Yeah, that is pretty insane to think about.
Well, on to the Summit League, Jonas. St. Thomas, a 1 seed this season, were a 3 seed last season. Newcomer South Dakota, a 2 seed alongside North Dakota State, a 3 seed who was number 1 last season.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those conferences that's interesting to see. I want to see Denver show out. I don't know about you, Nation. We saw them very early on this season. It was a really fun matchup. I don't know. I think they can get past Oral Roberts. Going toe to toe with the Tommies, that might be a different story.
We'll have to stream that together next week and have some fun.
Oh, absolutely.
We watched Denver. For those of you that don't get along with the joke here, it's a little bit of an inside joke, but you had to be there that night to know it. Denver played TCU back in week 1, and TCU, we'll just say, put belt to butt against Denver, beat them like 12-0 in one of the games. We thought, okay, maybe TCU is finally back. Please do not go look at their Big 12 record. That's all I have to tell you. But St. Thomas, the number 1 overall seed in the Summit League tournament.
I just think the part of that made it most funny is there was a lot of Denver fans in chat.
There was a lot of very angry Denver fans in chat that night.
It was our first time having Denver on stream. It was our first time seeing their fans show out, and it was one heck of a match. But yeah, the Tommies are at the 1 seed. I think it could be a close match between them and South Dakota. The Coyotes are going to be looking to swipe it from them, but we'll have to see over time.
Now, while we're on this conversation topic, in your opinion, who has the most toxic fans in CCS?
Oh, I can't call out a whole fan base. Oh my goodness! Oh God,
we've had the days of Texas Tech fans being crazy.
Yeah,
Denver's got some pretty crazy fans. Villanova's got some wild fans.
Villanova came to mind. Oh, I streamed a team this weekend. Not this weekend. Sorry, this season. I completely forget who it was, but they went crazy. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was.
It was probably a whack game, because every single game you streamed on your channel was a whack game instead of like 1, I think.
I don't think it was any of the Seattle fans. No, I just I had to really. I remember I had to stop.
How long ago was this?
I don't remember. It was a few weeks. I remember, Nation. I was casting. I was reading chat, and I literally had to stop and take a breath for like 5 seconds. I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Well,
there is some stuff.
Miami versus Clemson was on your channel a couple weeks ago. I don't know about it. That was the only game you streamed on your channel this season outside of any of the whack games.
It was probably just John.
Well, moving along to the Atlantic Sun tournament, taking up a couple of extra minutes there. North Florida back on top. This is the same exact tournament bracket from season 4 now in season 5. Same exact orders, same exact seeds.
And I would expect the same exact result.
I would agree with that. Central Arkansas should beat North Alabama again. Eastern Kentucky can compete. They've shown it this season with Florida Gulf Coast, but I think Gulf Coast will go head to head with North Florida. They split the season series, I think, at 1-1, I believe.
Yeah.
So maybe we get Gulf Coast as our ASUN tournament champion this time.
It could happen. I mean, again, it's always nice to see a conference with lots of competition, and that's something we've had here. The Ospreys have been able to stay out front the majority of it. Florida Gulf Coast have been able to stay at that number 2 spot, and of course, Eastern Kentucky at that 3. But it's still been competitive.
Okay, I hate doing this, but I feel like I have to. On to the MAC tournament. There was a lot of talk after last season from Pyro, the captain of the Bobcats at Quinnipiac University, and we'll just say the Bobcats started the year at 1-6. They dropped their first 2 games in conference, played a Fairfield and Siena, who played in the first round of the MAC tournament, coincidentally enough here. But Jonas, they're a 2 seed. What are the chances of dancing again?
I mean, I think they're gonna lock back in. I really do. It was very tough. I know you and me were seeing the results, and I think we were more and more surprised every week when we saw the results coming out. But I think they've locked back in. I think they finished the season 4 or 5-0, if I'm not mistaken. I think they really responded well, ending conference play. They were able to get all the way back up to a 2 seed. I think they should be able to go right back into it and compete. I don't think they want to. I don't think they're going to let themselves get eliminated earlier than that in this conference tournament.
And they're guaranteed a chance at revenge in the second round as well. Because Siena
Yeah,
and Fairfield both beat them this season in Game 5. So there's a 100% chance they get revenge in the second round if they get past Marist.
yeah, and I think they can. The Red Foxes, finishing with a 2-5 record, I think that they can get the job done. Ultimately, I think they're going to be able to respond. I really do.
I would agree. I think it's going to be an exciting series.
Hmm.
Once Quinnipiac gets that second round where they play Siena Fairfield close, both those went to 5. Iona Quinnipiac also went to 5. They did defeat Iona, the number 1 overall seed in the MAC tournament. But moving along, the America East, our last returning conference from last season, NJIT still atop. The America East looking to go back to the tournament for a second time.
I mean, yeah, them and UMBC are obviously the teams to watch over here. They split in the regular season. Both, we saw the Golden Retrievers win in Game 5, and then NJIT took it back in the final week in a 3-1 win. I mean, ultimately, NJIT, they're still going to be the favorites. But I think I just want to see the Golden Retrievers in the tournament nation. I think I just want to see it.
Well, you know what? The America East is ranked the worst conference in the league. So I assume the tournament champion would be a 16 overall seed in the CCS championships. Well, if you remember all the way back in 2013, UMBC was a 16 seed, knocked off 1 seed Virginia in the March Madness. Why not here in CCS?
Exactly. Yeah. Why not? It could happen. We'll see him. We'll see him take down Akron, and it's easy peasy.
UMBC to win? Are we slamming the house on UMBC
Yeah.
already?
Yeah.
Get to the tournament. 16 seed for the Golden Retrievers. Can they knock somebody off?
Yeah. I'm spending my life savings on it. Let's go, dogs.
On to the new conference. We entered 3 new ones this season. Ohio Valley, number 1. Southern Indiana, the the Screaming Eagles for long there is Lindenwood, second place. Southeast Missouri State, third. Tennessee Tech, fourth. Arkansas Little Rock, 5. That game actually played tonight. Tennessee Tech will advance 3-1 the final score over the Little Rock Trojans. They'll play Southern Indiana next week.
Yeah, I mean it's Southern Indiana. It's their conference tournament to lose. They have been able to take down every single one of these teams, only dropping 2 games in the process. They have just looked extremely confident, and you'd be surprised. You think they dropped games to the 2 and 3 seeds. No, it was the 4 and 5 Tennessee Tech and Arkansas Little Rock. Those were the 2 games they dropped, one to each of those teams, and they swept Lindenwood, swept Southeast Missouri State, and I can't see anyone slowing them down. I would expect them to meet up with Lindenwood in the conference grand finals, and I don't think the Lions are going to be able to overcome the Screaming Eagles.
Well, Southeast Missouri State and Lindenwood went to game 5, so that one could be 50-50 in a best of
Mhm.
7 in the semifinal. We'll have to wait and see, though, and see what happens. Maybe Southern Indiana and Lindenwood or SEMO also in the tournament for 2 bids out of the Ohio Valley.
Absolutely.
And maybe a bid thief here in the OVC tournament. But moving along to Southland, the second to last conference. Stephen, oh, that one's spelled wrong. Hold on, let me fix it. Actually, I have the new one. Hold on, Chad. I have it right here.
Yeah,
Give me a
yeah, all
second.
good.
Hold on,
All good.
fixing it. Both Jesse and Iceberg made graphics for the Southland accident. One of them spelled it right. One of them spelled it wrong. I'm fixing it right now. Hold on. There we go. All right, it's spelled correctly now. Stephen of Austin, Nicole State in round 1. Southeast Louisiana takes on UTRGV.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Stephen F. Austin. I mean, there's not much else to say. A perfect 6-0 through conference play, only dropping 4 games in those 6 series. I mean, there's not much to say. I think they're just gonna run it again. Think they're gonna have their time with it.
Yeah, again, SFA's played Southeast Louisiana and UTRGV in Game 5, so I don't think we can count anybody out yet.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Indeed, I mean,
The tournament kicks
yeah,
off next week. They get the week off. Semifinals are next week, so we'll wait and see what happens next week in round one of the Southland tournament. And Jesse did get it right. He is the one that did make the graphic correctly. But moving along to the last conference tournament, Big South also kicking off next week. Winthrop will play Chattanooga. UNC Asheville will take on Radford, who's fifth ranked in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, Nation. It's just Radford. I mean, you have these four teams. UNC Asheville, we've seen them a little bit. Chattanooga, we've seen them a little bit. Winthrop, they've been, they've had some really good collegiate teams in previous years. But it's Radford. It's the Highlanders. They've been sitting atop. They've been sitting atop the power ranking as well. Been in those top marks. It can't. I don't. It can't be anyone else other than Radford. Honestly.
I don't see anyone else winning. I think Winthrop is the only chance, but even then, they couldn't contend with Radford in league play. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. But moving on to the selection metrics the committee will be using, we've kind of created a couple of different things this season to look at in terms of how we're going to be evaluating teams in selection weekend. Join us. You're also part of the committee this season. We've discussed kind of thoroughly what we expect to see, and we'll kind of reveal our predictions later on in the night. But again, we've created a net system. There's a net ranking now across CCS. We'll make that publicly available probably sometime next week, but we've created a strength of schedule rating, a strength of record rating, a conference strength rating, a net ranking, and a win rate rating. And again, Robert Morris mentioned earlier, number one in the country, 97% win rate so far in CCS Season 5, which is extremely high.
I mean, it's just more stats to go off of. It's more ways to try and seed through these teams to really just kind of have that algorithm to help out, and it helps so we don't have to look over every team throughout all the spreadsheets throughout non-con throughout conference play throughout the conference tournament. It helps a lot.
And we mentioned quadrant 1 earlier, and for those of you unfamiliar with how the net rankings work in college sports, 1 through 25 on the net ranking, if you beat them, it is considered quadrant 1. 26 through 73 is considered quadrant 2. In CCS, 74 through 136, I believe the number is considered quadrant 3, and 137 through 185 is considered quadrant 4. So you want to have wins in quadrant 1 and 2, and you want to have 0 losses inside quadrant 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just getting the big matches. It's just getting those big wins. It's getting wins based off that algorithm. I mean, you just want to get those wins, and the more quality opponents you beat, obviously the more Q1 opponents you'll get the victories off of. It's just another metric to go by.
That it is. 26 to 73 is quad 2, 74 to 146 is quad 3. So a little bit off there, about 10 off. But again, you get how it works. Quadrant 1 and 2 are the ones you want to have wins in. Quadrant 3 and 4 are the ones you want to have 0 losses in. Those will all be used in terms of evaluating all 64 teams in the field and your at-large selections if the team's barely left out in 3 weeks come selection weekend. But Jonas, I mean, it's going to be a long process after we all find out, when it's all said and done, after the 23 conference tournaments wrap up.
I mean, it always is. I wasn't a part of it last season. I'm very excited to be a part of it this season. Just because it's fun seeing these teams, and you always want to see one of those teams in the tournament. There's always going to be that one team you think should sneak in, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. That's why we have a committee to decide the seedings as well, see who kind of gets placed where. It's all going to be up in the air. It's going to be a long process, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. At the start, we will select all 64 teams to participate in the field. Then we will list the teams 1 through 64, selecting 1 through 16 in the overall seed lines, and then we'll kind of scrub the bracket to get to your regions and what school will be closer to the region in your southwest, southeast, west, and midwest brackets. And then we'll scrub the field 1 to 64, correctly see the list. Then place the teams 1 through 64 in the bracket. And that'll be your bracket for the season, and it's going to be a long weekend in April.
Yeah, it really, really will be. But I mean, it's gonna be long, but it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're gonna hopefully we're gonna be there for it. And it's gonna be a fun process. It always is, and it's always kind of amazing when everything accumulates to this final moment. And the tournament, it was incredibly fun last season having that 64 team tournament. I'm expecting that to be even more the case this season.
B-Boys said in chat, North Carolina danced with a quad 3 loss, so can we. Well, I regret to inform you that was a national host job by the selection committee to put in North Carolina. I will not hold that one down. But Anyway, Jonas, we've talked a lot this season about who we expect to see playing in the championships and who we expect to see out. Let's take a look at our berth watch. We've blocked a lot of teams. We've moved teams up and down a ton. 64 teams in our minds have been selected to play in the tournament. As of right now, things could change though in 3 weeks. Let's take a look.
Yeah, obviously we still got to see what happens in the conference tournaments, but these are the teams to kind of be on the lookout for. You can kind of move left to right looking at the locks. You can see a lot of teams you recognize, obviously Virginia Tech being 8-0 in the ACC. Those big top two Big Ten teams are Purdue and Michigan State, Arizona, Iowa State kind of sitting atop the Big 12, Florida, Mizzou obviously atop the SEC. And, you have the American, the MAC, CUSA, see Akron, Charlotte, Wichita State, UNT, Ball State, FIU, and all the other locks from the other conferences, Drexel, JMU, Radford, Northeastern, San Diego State. Those are all the teams that, if they lose round one in their conference tournament, they're still going to make it in because they just have been that good so far.
We've locked a good bit of teams since we've last updated this and shown the community.
Oh, yeah.
Again, last night we updated it for the first time in a while. Northeastern, Radford, JMU, San Diego State, all locked at the bottom. FIU, Wichita State, welcome to lock status. Iowa State, after last night, welcome to lock status. And Virginia Tech, 8-0 top the ACC. It's been a down year for the ACC, but they still unbeaten. Welcome to lock status, Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun to see, and you look at the almost lock, still a lot of teams you recognize having good season. Pitt being 7-1 in the ACC. Still see Illinois and Rutgers who have had some good seasons. Cincinnati also in that almost lock for the Big 12. These teams just narrowly about there. Central Florida being 8-0 through conference play. I mean, that's pretty huge. Bowling Green, who are sitting at number 3 in the MAC, they've been competing well, and obviously it's kind of a lot in the all others conferences. But you got Louisiana, Grand Canyon, Robert Morris, George Mason in there, Yukon, Northern Arizona, Utah Valley after taking down both UTA and Grand Canyon also in that almost lock. And those are a lot of teams we would expect through the conference tournament to make it, barring anything super crazy.
Yeah, and again, our last 4 teams in the field right now is East Carolina, Kennesaw State, Western Kentucky, and Milwaukee. That's our last 4 teams in. Oregon, Tennessee, Northern Illinois, and Fullerton. The first 4 teams out of the field at 65 through 68. So again, things can change though in the next 3 weeks. So we'll have to wait and see how things kind of adjust through the course of tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is still barring the 3 weeks left for the conference tournaments. A lot can happen. I mean, any one of those 8 teams could go on a run. You could see them try and really secure a higher spot. You could see them maybe just sneak in. You could see someone fall out. I mean, there's a lot that can happen. But regardless, you just kind of have to wait and see. This is what we decided so far. But there's still 3 more weeks to go, and anything can happen.
Absolutely anything can happen indeed. Well, we know, Jonas, it is the month of March. It brings the best college championship in all of college sports. March Madness tips off on Thursday, the 20th of March here this week at 11 a.m. Louisville takes on Creighton in the opening tip of Thursday's action. And what better way, Jonas, to end off this podcast? We made our own March Madness prediction brackets. Let's take a look. I'll kick off things with mine. I think, is it showing on stream? I don't know. Are we good? I can't see, so I don't know what's showing right now. But
it is on there. But I think I still think we should. I'm just gonna say my picks alongside yours.
So I'm looking at this bracket, looking at the left side region here. This is the South. Auburn has looked very, very good this year. They're playing at a high level. They have lost 3 of the last 4. Honestly, I don't know why they're still number 1 overall. I thought Duke should have been number 1, but Auburn, a great team. I don't see them struggling until they get to the Elite 8 with Iowa State.
Yeah, I also have them cleanly getting through. I mean, I do have an upset over in the South, and it is Auburn. I have them getting through all the way to the Elite 8 and upsetting them. I actually have Michigan.
Okay, Michigan's on fraud watch number 1. They turn the ball over. Michigan turns the ball over. They are the worst team in the country in turnover rate. You see San Diego turns the team over at a very high rate as well. They're ranked high in the country in turnovers. That's an upset to watch. Yale upsetting Texas A&M is also an upset to watch as well. That could happen. San Diego State, if they beat North Carolina, they could upset Ole Miss. New Mexico, where Marquette's a good pick as well if you're looking for upsets to watch in the South region. But again, the South region, if Iowa State can stay healthy, I think it's Auburn, Iowa State in the South regional final.
I mean that's valid. I mean, I obviously you have to watch out for Michigan State. They're still going to be a threat. I mean, Marquette, New Mexico is an interesting 7-10 game. That's going to be a fun one to watch. I did also put New Mexico taking down Marquette. I don't think Marquette's going to be able to get the job done there. But regardless, I have either team being eliminated. To the Spartans, I mean, looking at it, a lot is still the same. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. I could see Michigan getting dropped out early, but we'll have to see.
That we will. And moving on to the East region, Duke and Baylor is an interesting round 2 game. I don't think Baylor can win it, but I think it's going to be close. Arizona, Tommy Lloyd can never get the job done in March. It's just simple. If you're an Arizona fan, you know it. They never win in March. They just can't. They can't get it done. They always are overseeded. They always lose in the second and third round. They just can't dance. They are not good in March. Simply put as that. But I think VCU could upset BYU. They have played good ball in the A10 all year. BYU's on fraud watch for me as well right now. St. Mary's is your free round 1 upset pick. They always lose in the first round. Vanderbilt shooting lights out 3. That's an easy upset in the first round. If you're really looking to have some fun here, Vanderbilt is going to beat St. Mary's.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing in the East Nation, I have VCU going nuclear. I can't lie to
Really?
you. I have them taking down BYU. I have them taking down Wisconsin.
I kind of like that pick.
Taking down Bama.
I don't like that pick.
I have them making it to the Elite Eight nation. They're gonna do it. Mark my words.
Beating Alabama is hard, but I can see the reasoning behind Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's overseeded. And back to what I was talking about earlier, the hose job. Louisville hosed out of a high seed. They're an 8 seed. I don't know how they pulled an 8. They were hosed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
On to the Midwest regional being in Indianapolis. Houston, I have projected going to the national title game. Gonzaga, Houston's going to be a great round 2 game. Purdue, if they can stay healthy, could be interesting in round 3. McNeese State, their manager actually just inked a 6-figure NIL deal. They have an SEC team playing in the Southland. I think they're due for a run.
I could see it. I also did have them actually getting through Clemson. We'll have to really see
I have
though.
money on that game.
I think I always have to have kind of one bigger upset. And I have another team going crazy, Nation.
Can I guess?
You'll never guess who it is.
Wait, can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it High Point?
It's not High Point, no.
Is it Troy?
Nope. A little higher.
Is it? Then it's Texas.
No, I have it. UCLA, the Bruins.
A 7 seed?
The Bruins are going to go crazy.
I was looking at round 1 upsets going crazy, but that's not an upset in the first round.
I meant like I have UCLA going to the Elite Eight.
And losing to Houston, I assume, or Purdue, or Gonzaga?
Losing to Houston is what I have, yeah.
Interesting. Well, on to the West region. Florida, UConn. You can't count out Dan Hurley in March. You just can't.
No.
I mean, this is a stacked region. St. John's led by Coach Pitino. Memphis is a great team. They've had a cup. They're like 8-2 in quad 1. They've got multiple elite wins on neutral floors. They've got a lot of experience and good depth in their roster with PJ Haggerty potentially being a national player of the year. It's going to be an exciting tournament to watch.
Yeah, it will be. I wanted to put Grand Canyon over Memphis. I wanted to do it. I couldn't do it. I also agree that GCU are going to get through Maryland, by the way. I think that's going to be a nice upset there. Couldn't have them getting past Memphis, though. And then, yeah, I think the Gators are gonna make it quite cleanly. And I also have them facing against St. John's as well in that region matchup.
Drake is also free money, by the way, for an upset in round 1. That's absolute free money. Ben McCollum had a whole D2 transfer go to Drake. They're Missouri Valley Conference champions back-to-back years under Coach McCollum. Texas Tech, led by Grant McCaslin, old North Texas coach, and he's done a heck of a job in year 2. Has them as a 3 seed. The Red Raiders, I think they lose in the Sweet 16 to St. John's, and I think the Johnnies could go on a run.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it. I really do. I think it'd be pretty crazy to see. I mean, seeing them go 30-4 overall, I believe is it's been pretty fun to watch them. I mean, I think one of their more recent, I think they did lose in like February to like Villanova was one of their losses. I mean, that can't always be counted out, but I know Florida. I think they lost one SEC match to like the Bulldogs or something. But I mean,
Who's your
either
final
way,
four?
my final four. So I got Duke v Houston, the one seeds. I'm ashamed to admit, and then I have the two seeds on the left side. I have St. John's and Michigan State. I have the Spartans taking down Auburn.
And who's your national title game?
I have Michigan State getting it over St. John's just barely, and I have Duke taking down Houston. I
So
think it's
Duke and
I think it's
Michigan
gonna be
State.
Duke. I think it's gonna be Duke MSU. I think Duke are gonna win it all. I think it's a Duke year.
I'm convinced that Houston's making the title game, and I don't know what to think about the left side. Michigan State could make it, Auburn could make it, St. John's could make it. I'd like to see Coach Pitino win if Houston doesn't win. I'm rooting for St. John's if once the second Houston loses. But again, there's so many good teams. I'm going Houston over Auburn in the title game.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, once again, it's always hard to look at these top teams and count out any of the one seeds and two seeds. It's hard to knock them out, but as we know, it happens. There's always a chance for one of those massive upsets. We'll have to see if it does happen this year, but it's all March Madness is always a pleasure to watch and yeah, maybe throw some money on some.
I've got money on one of the games, the McNeese over
There you go.
Clemson game. Got $50 on the McNeese Cowboys over Clemson in round one. But again, for those of you who watch college basketball, March Madness tips off Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern. And Jason Jonas, it's our second to last podcast of this season, maybe actually third to last. 3 more episodes still come in the future before the tournament action kicks off. But finally back, it feels good to be here after a couple of weeks of hiatus, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, it really is, and it's been a longer episode as well. We've been going for about an hour 16 now, but it's been a lot of fun, and we've obviously had a lot to talk about, a lot of big updates. It was fun to look over the March Madness bracket as well, and you know what? I'm super excited for these conference tournaments to see how everything shakes out, and honestly, just one step closer to that national championship bracket being developed, and that is always so incredible to see.
That it is, and boys, no trash cans will be smashed for Omaha in the tournament. Unfortunately, though, it's a funny story, but Omaha is not having a chance with St. John's. But anyway, it's for Nation Jonas on the Conference Call podcast After Dark. We'll see you guys later.